Greetings everyone! So for today's video, we're going to present our final laboratory project in client-side scripting, which is the Barangay Management with Blottering system. And the specific barangay that we choose is the Barangay Banay-Banay City of Cabuyao, Laguna. But before we proceed to our presentation, I would like to introduce my group mates. First, Buena Flor John Paul, Sinicola Victor Henry, Galang Joseph, Lingan Gabriel, Marcelana Eva, Mapola Jade Lester, Morales Roger, Palma John Cedric, Panoy Ivan, and lastly, Berda Regina Rose. That's all. Let's proceed to our presentation. In Access.js, it functions as the main script in our program. It handles the updating of our local storage for the user database, which keep track of all the users who have signed up in our program. Additionally, it checks if a user is logged in. If not, the program will redirect the user to the login page if they attempt to access a page that requires a logged-in account. In our code, we serialize an object before storing it in local storage because local storage only accepts string. We have a class called user, which includes a constructor for the transaction history. Additionally, we have a function called addUser to new user, which adds a new user to the array of user database, keeping track of all the users who signed up in our system. The delete user by ID function retrieves the deleted property of the class object instance. We also have an updateUDB function responsible for updating the user database through the local storage key name user database. So, the getUDB function retrieves the user database from local storage. addUserID inc is used to increment the ID every time the new user signed up. We also have the getUserID inc function, which allows new user to retrieve and store their user ID in the local storage. The getLogin database function returns the value of the local storage key is logged in, which is a boolean indicating whether there is logged in user. So, the isLogged-in function is used to determine if there is currently a logged in user, while the setLoggedIn this value function set the value of the logged in user name. The userLoggedIn this user function set the logged in user local storage key to the provided this user arguments, effectively setting the logged in user. The whoisLoggedIn function return the user who is currently logged in as set by the userLoggedIn function. So, to ensure user authentication, the redirect user function redirect the user to the login page if they haven't logged into the system. We also utilize the username check function to validate and check the username on our signed up page. So lastly, getUserByUsername function retrieves the user's username and retrieve it to the user. The function userMatchPassword is the function that returns true if user's password match the attempted password. The transaction history variable is user-based transaction history that provides the transaction history. Some other recording to history function can be found in other JavaScript files. So, the function addTransaction is used to add a transaction in our system. We also have a getTransactionHistory function and getTransactionHistory with user ID function that return the transaction history, but the latter includes the user ID. The function updateTransactionHistory is used to update the transaction in our system. So, below our access.js files, we have a jQuery ready code block like the document.onClick button logout function that is used to log out if the button with the class button logout was clicked. Meanwhile, the document.clickSubmit function is used to create transaction report and documents reports. And the documents that on-click report delete function is used to delete a transaction. While lastly, the documents on-click report edit function is used to edit the transaction made by the user.
My name is Panoy Evan Froy A. My student number is 2102330. Blotter.html. The head section includes metadata such as character encoding, viewport settings, and links to external resources which is fonts, tile sheets, and favicon. In navigation bar, there are 4 links: homepage, Blotter, reports, and my account. These links are represented as list items within an unordered list and styled using CSS classes. Blotter link is marked as active, navly active, to indicate the current page. A form named Generate Report is provided. Contains various input elements and a text area element for users to enter report details. The inputs include fields for the complainant's name, date, and address, each with label to describe their purpose. There is also a submit button with the IDGR submit and a title attribute indicating submit report. In report information display includes a paragraph element with ID reporting as to display information about the current user's reporting status. It also includes a cautionary message with the ID caution to inform users about the visibility and anonymity of the reports. To manage your report section, a section with ID crude reports is provided to manage user reports. It contains a heading and an empty container with the ID user reports to display users' specific report information. In JavaScript files includes references to 3 files: script.js, access.js, and better.js. Using script tags, those files likely contain custom JavaScript code to provide interactivity, handle events, manipulate data, and enhance the functionality of the web page.
Dangal greetings. I'm John Paul H. Penapdor. I'm here to discuss our index HTML. It starts with the doc type HTML declaration which tells the browser that this is an HTML5 document. The HTML tag represents the root element of the document, and the lang eng attribute specifies the language as English. Inside the head section, we have some important metadata. The metachar set UTF-8 tag sets the character encoding to UTF-8, which the meta name viewport support a wide range of character contents with device with initial scale 1. Tags help the responsive design by setting the viewport with an initial scale. Next, we have some link tags. The first two are reconnecting to Google Fonts, which improves performance. Then we have the link to CSS file called style CSS, which likely contains the styling rules for this web page. And the link rel icon href equals favicon.icon type. Image X icon tags specify the favicon, the small icon display in the browser tab. Moving on the body of the document, we start with a div element with a class div_nav, which likely represent the navigation section. Inside the navigation, we have an ordered list all with the class nav_ui. It contains multiple list items, each representing a navigation link. The links themselves are represented by the A tags with the href attribute pointing to different HTML page. Now let's move to the div element with the class main content section. We have a representing the main body of the web page. Inside it, we have an empty body main div, likely representing the main body of the web page. Inside it, we have empty div with the ID header, which can be placeholder for the header content. The next element with the class DTV homepage wall seems to be a container for posts. Inside it, we have 2 posts with ID post 1 and post 2. Each post paragraph and links contain a heading represented by H2 tag followed by some paragraph P and link A. One of the link points to image and the other links point to external source like Wikipedia and Phil Atlas. These sources provide additional information about Barangay Banay and its location. We also have embedded in frames which are likely windows into other web pages. These sources provide additional information about Barangay Banay and its location. We also have embedded in frames which are like windows into other web pages. These in frames display Facebook posts and Facebook image frame related to Barangay Banay Banay. The in frames have different source URL and specify their width and height.
Good afternoon. My name is Roger Morales, and I'm going to discuss the login HTML and login JavaScript. As you can see here in our HTML, we input some link and also the jQuery and the title login. Then we use li class for the homepage, Blotter, reports, and my account. For the login, we use form class, div class, label 4 to enter username, enter password, and also for the login button. Then we also input a paragraph span for no accounts and sign up. For the login JS, we use query selector for username, password, and button login. Then for the document functions, we set this username login to username login, same as in password login. Then also we use focus to username login. Then the button login, we set the username login val to username login.val. It means that whenever the user enter the data, it will validate the data, like the username is already logged in, username and password is invalid, the username is not recorded as or sign up, the username is deleted, and the password is not matched. If the user is already signed up and logged in, it will automatically go to the homepage.
For my account.html, which is used for displaying a user's account, first the hyperlinks that will be used are included in the head. Those are links for fonts, icon, style sheet, and script source that will be used. In the body section, the first division is for displaying a list by using list item element. In here, homepage, blotter, reports, and my account is displayed, where the link for its source code is connected by using a href tag. The next division will show the details of the user. As a default, the values of last name, first name, address, and age is set to null, and the date of birth is not set, which will be edited by the user using the buttons created in the next division. The next division is the buttons for editing and saving. In this line of code, you can see that as default, the save button is set disabled at first. The user must edit first to enable the save button. For logging out, a button is created named logout. Next division will show the user's transaction. In this side of the code, every changes which is added, deleted, or updated by the user made will be presented in here. We also added a text that displays a danger zone text. Lastly, for the body section is a button for deleting the account is added, which is named delete account. After putting the needed elements in the body, the source code link for script is added at the bottom of the code, which is script.js, access.js, and myaccount.js.
Long greetings everyone, I'm Eva Emarceliana. Here in my account.js, I will explain the transaction history. So first, our group put a let keyword that allows you to declare variables that are limited to the scope of a block statement or expression on which it is used. Also, we put this to know who is the user who logged in, and we put an if keyword which is used to start a conditional statement. We put it if to see if its last name and first name is not null. Set up names in the My Account page. If null, only username and user ID is found at the top of the My Account page. To set up the account page, we first put a $sign. This $sign is a JavaScript identifier, which simply means that it identifies an object in the same way that a name or variable does. So first identify the username, then user ID before the first name, last name, address, and age. Here in age and birth date, we put a non-keyword to identify only a number and no letters related. Then here, the registered date is not editable. When editing a user profile here, our group also put a clickable button, which is a button that the user clicks to disable if the user needs to edit those with wrong info, for example. Then after they finish editing their information, it is enabled. Then the user can edit the information he wants to change about his account. After that, there is a save button that the user can click if ever needed and if he is done editing his account information. In the transaction history, you added a const declaration that creates block scopes constant, much like variables declared using the let keyword. Then the new transaction, date, time, type, which is account will appear here, then the details if edited, profile, and user ID if who is logged in, then location to reload after that. In the delete action function, once deleted, account with current username will no longer be usable. Here, there is also a button that are group placed for the user to click on whether to delete an account. After being deleted, the user returns to the sign up process. Then, last process in the transaction history created an array that has matching user, which is who is the user who logged in, and here we can hide if no user found and return it to the user can see something. Then we created an ordered list element for the transaction list. Then we set up that list item with details to be more specific. Then finally, the transaction list will be displayed in HTML by appending it to visitor.
Greetings everyone, I am Dave Professor Ingapola and I am here to discuss what inside the reports HTML and the reports.js. So first let's discuss reports.html. So inside of it we have the head section, body section, and script tags. Head section with meta tags, link tags, script tags, and the title tag, which is report, and a body section with a div with the class of div nav, a container div for the navigation bar, a nav with the class of nav bar defines a navigation bar, ul with the class nav ul and ordered this to hold the navigation items, an li with the class of nav li list of representing each navigation item, an anchor tag with the href attributes pointing to different HTML page to create navigation links, a div with the class of body main div, a container div for the main content of the page, another div with the ID main div reports, a specific div within the main content section, another div with the reports wall, ID reports wall, but is currently empty, then script tags, script.js, access.js, report.js. Overall, the code represents a web page with a navigation bar and a main content section where reports will likely be displayed. So for the report.js, we declare an empty array called Blotter database, which will store the generated reports. We have here a condition, checks if there is an item with a key that our database is stored in the browser's local storage. If the condition in step 2 is true, the code retrieves the value stored in Blotter database from the local storage and parses it from the string to an array, assigning it to the Blotter database. Then the ready function check if the document has finished loading. The code within the document ready function looks through each item in the Blotter database and creates HTML elements to display the reports that are not marked as deleted. Inside the loop, a new div element is created assigned the class user report div. Our SP tag elements are created to display the report's ID, date, last modification date, if available, address, reported person, and details. The newly created elements are appended to the div created earlier. Finally, the newly created div containing the report information is appended to the element within the ID reports wall. After the loop, the code checks if there are no reports displayed on the page. If this condition is true, an alert message will be displayed indicating that there are no existing reports on prompting the user to create one of the Blotter page.
My name is Palmajan Sadeke and I'll be discussing the basic functions in our project. First function is validate input. Validate input field. This function checks if the value of an input field is empty or blank. If it is, it empties the field, adds a placeholder indicating that it is a required field and returns false. Otherwise, it returns true. Next function is create date now YMD. Create date now YMD, this function creates the current date and returns it in the format year, month, and date. Next function is create date now YMD offset. This function creates the current date with a specified offset in years and return it in the format year, month, and date. Next is convert date now YMD. Convert date now YMD, this function converts a given date to the format year, month, and date. Next function is create date now YMD. YMDHM. This function creates the current date and time and returns it in the format YMDH. Next function is create date now DMY. This function creates the current date and returns it in the format day, month, year. Next function is convert date to DMY. This function converts a given date to the format DD, month, year. Next, convert date to DMY HM. This function converts a given date to the format date, month, year, hour, and minute. Next function is pad this num. Pad this num. This function pads a number with leading zeros. It takes a number and the desired length of the resulting string and returns the padded number as a string. And the last function is unpad this num. Unpad this num. This function removes the leading zeros from a number. It takes a string representation of a number and returns the corresponding number without leading zeros.
Style.css. Style is defined for the selector set the font family to a series of fallback fonts, Google Sans, Seago UI, and etc. For input, text area, and button, element sets the border color to black, border style to solid, border radius to 7.5 pixels, border width to 2 pixels, and margin and padding to 5 pixels. Button selector sets the font weight to bold, cursor to pointer, and define a transition effect for all properties with a duration of 0.3 seconds. Div and nav selectors sets a border radius of 10 pixels. Dot body main div selector sets the text alignment to center and horizontal alignment to center. Dot justify text selector sets the text alignment to justify and width to 60%. That homepage wall post selector sets the background color to green and adds margin and padding of 10 pixels. That embed FB post selector sets text color to white. That generate report selector sets the text alignment to justify, height to 100 pixels and width to 90%. For an element with a class user report div, it sets a border radius of 10 pixels and a background color of a dark gray, and adds 10 pixels of padding and margin around the element. The target elements have the classes .gr label and .gr label text area. We set the text alignment to the left for both. In the class report content edit text area, we set the width of the element to 80% of its container. Anchor, which is elements that are descendants of an element with the ID quotient, sets the text color to white. An input element with the ID report address sets the width of the input field to 80 of its container. Button elements that are descendants of an element with the class user report div. It adds a transition effect to all purpose properties with a duration of 0.3 seconds and an easing function of ease. It also sets the font weight to bold and the width to 60 pixels. The elements with the classes report edit and report delete, when they are being hovered over by the cursor. On hover, the text color is is set to white, and the background color is changed to green for that edit elements and and red for that report delete elements. The class report content, it adds a top button of margin of 10 pixels to create spacing around the content. The My Account page sets margin to 10 pixels, padding to 20 pixels, background color to dark gray. It also sets the Justify to center. My Account page legend selector sets the alignment to left. That My Account names field set selector sets the display to inline black. That My Account address field set selector sets the width to 50%. That My Account names and that My Account other info selector sets the Justify to center and text alignment to left. That transaction list and that transaction list item selector sets the text alignment to left. Reporting as selector sets the text color to antique white, and button log out hover. Also, delete hover selectors changes the background color to red and text color to white. A hyperlink custom hover selector changes the background color to dark gray. A button logout hover selector changes the background to color red. The danger zone selector sets the color to red, font weight to bold, and adds the underline with white color. That div nav and that nav bar selector sets the margin and padding to 0 pixels, overflow to hidden background color to red. The input placeholder required field already exists, invalid input, and invalid characters placeholder selector sets the font weight to bold and color to red.
Greetings everyone, I am Victor Henry R.C. Nicola, and this is the sign up page and sign up JS of the sign up function of the final project. So this is the sign up page. See, sign up.html. So this is the content of the sign up.html. It has this div and a form, which is this, and input fields and a button for sign up, which is this. And there is also a kind of reminder for the user if they already have an account, which is commonly found in some account management modules in other websites. So this is the sign up page. So this input is validated when the button is clicked. So they must be valid. For example, if I try to enter a username with alphanumeric characters, it will be invalidated. So this field can only accept alphanumeric characters, which are letters and numbers. It will not accept special characters and white spaces. For example, this is a valid input for creating an account. And you will see the local storage is updated, and this is my newly created user. Then I can log in with that user. And that is for the sign up page of our final project.